Ladies and gentlemen, as we stand on the threshold of 2025, I invite you to pause, to breathe, to realign. This year is not about chasing, it's about centering. It's about coming home to yourself. There is a sacred calling to turn inward, to nurture your soul, and to walk in alignment with the divine purpose placed upon your life. Let your focus be unwavering. Let your heart be at peace. Let your soul be nurtured. And above all, let divine wisdom lead you to the wholeness and abundance that has been waiting for you all along. The time is now. Focus on yourself. Focus on the divine within you. And watch as everything else falls into place. In a world that constantly demands our attention, where external validation often dictates our sense of worth, there is a sacred calling to turn inward. This is not a call to selfishness, but a divine invitation to self-growth, to become the person you were always meant to be. Together with impotence, with emergency, then the joy of experiencing unfettered. But ancient wisdom reminds us that before we can pour into others, we must first be full ourselves. Before we can offer light to the world, we must ensure our own flame is burning strong. There is power in understanding that growth is not something that happens to us. It is something we step into with intention. It is an act of faith. To grow means to acknowledge where you are, to accept it with grace, and to step forward with trust that the best is still ahead. Growth does not mean being perfect. It means recognizing that every challenge, every lesson, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to refine and strengthen the soul. This is the essence of self-growth, not chasing an ideal version of yourself, but becoming more aligned with the divine wisdom that already exists within you. This journey requires reflection. We are so quick to look outward for answers, to seek guidance from the world, when often the clarity we need is already within us. But finding that clarity requires stillness. It requires a willingness to sit with ourselves, to ask hard questions, to acknowledge our weaknesses without shame, and to celebrate our strengths without hesitation. It is in these moments of self-examination that true transformation begins, when we take the time to understand ourselves, our desires, our gain the practice, the fluorescent understanding and depths of who we are correct. Too often people believe that focusing on themselves is selfish. But consider this, the divine never intended for us to neglect our own well-being. We are temples, vessels of light, and we cannot fulfill our purpose if we are depleted. When we take care of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, we are not only honoring our own existence, but we are also creating a foundation from which we can serve others more fully. Self-growth is not about isolation or turning away from our responsibilities. It is about strengthening ourselves so that we can step into them with clarity, with confidence, with grace. One of the most important aspects of self-growth is releasing what no longer serves us. Many of us carry burdens that were never meant to be ours, limiting beliefs, past regrets, unhealthy attachments. We hold on to them out of fear, thinking that if we let go, we will be left with nothing. But divine wisdom teaches us otherwise. When we release what is weighing us down, we make space for what is truly meant for us. When we stop chasing things that drain us, we allow ourselves to receive what will nourish us. Growth is not just about adding more. Sometimes it is about letting go. As we step into 2025, this is the invitation to turn inward, to embrace growth, to recognize that you are worthy of time, care, and attention. You are not here to simply exist. You are here to evolve, to transform, to step into the fullness of who you were created to be. This journey is yours, and it is sacred. When you choose to focus on yourself, you are choosing alignment. You are choosing strength. You are choosing the path that was always meant for you. In the modern world, distractions are everywhere. They call out from every corner, pulling us in directions we were never meant to go. Social media, endless obligations, the noise of others' expectations. These things cloud our minds and divert us from the path that is truly meant for us. But there is a divine wisdom in clarity, in focusing on what truly matters, and in choosing to silence the distractions that keep us from hearing the voice within. Clarity does not come by accident. It is something we must seek with intention. Many of us have spent years listening to the world, believing that our worth is tied to how much we achieve, how much we give, or how much we are seen. But the truth is, our value does not come from external validation. It is not found in the approval of others or in the number of responsibilities we juggle. It is found in alignment, in living a life that reflects what is truly meant for us. When we shed the distractions and step into clarity, we begin to understand what we are here to do. To achieve clarity, we must first become aware of what is pulling us away from it. What are the things that take up our mental space but do not bring peace? What relationships drain us rather than uplift us? What habits keep us stagnant instead of allowing us to grow? These are questions that require honesty, an honesty that is not always easy but is necessary for transformation. When we hold on to things that no longer serve us, we make it difficult to move forward. But when we intentionally release the things that create confusion, we allow room for what is truly meant for us to enter. Many people believe that being busy is the same as being purposeful, but the two are not the same. Busyness often comes from distraction, from feeling like we must do everything, be everything, and please everyone. Purpose, however, comes from clarity. It is knowing what is essential and letting go of what is not. The divine does not call us to exhaustion, to constant striving, to endless comparison. Instead, we are called to wisdom, to focus, to alignment. Shedding distractions is not about doing less for the sake of doing less. It is about doing what truly matters, with full presence and intention. Stillness is one of the greatest tools for gaining clarity. When we step away from the noise, when we allow ourselves moments of solitude, we create space for insight to emerge. This is not something the world encourages. Modern society thrives on urgency, on instant responses, on constant engagement. But divine wisdom teaches us differently. It reminds us that in the quiet we find truth. When we take the time to be still, to reflect, to listen, we begin to see the path ahead with new eyes. Clarity does not come from rushing. It comes from surrendering to the stillness and trusting that the answers we seek will be revealed in time. Focusing on what matters also requires discipline. Even after we identify what is distracting us, we must make the conscious choice to walk away from it. This is not always easy. Sometimes distractions are comfortable, familiar, even addictive. But every time we say no to something that pulls us away from our purpose, we are saying yes to something greater. We are choosing depth over superficiality, meaning over noise, wisdom over temporary satisfaction. As we move forward, the challenge is this: to release the distractions that no longer serve us, to step into clarity with intention, and to trust that by focusing on what truly matters, we will walk in the fullness of our purpose. The path is already laid before us. It is simply up to us to choose it. There is a profound power in stillness, yet it is one of the most overlooked aspects of spiritual and personal growth. In a world that constantly demands movement, action, and response, we have been conditioned to believe that stillness is unproductive, that to pause is to fall behind. But divine wisdom teaches us the opposite. Stillness is not stagnation. It is a sacred space where clarity is found, where healing begins, and where we reconnect with the essence of who we are. Solitude is not loneliness. It is an opportunity to retreat from the noise and align with a greater truth. Throughout history, moments of solitude have been pivotal for transformation. Those who have walked the path of wisdom knew that revelation does not come in chaos but in quiet. When we remove ourselves from distractions, when we step away from the expectations of the world, we create space for something deeper. It is in these moments, when we are alone with our thoughts, when we are free from external influence, that we truly begin to hear not the opinions of others, not the pressures of society, but the quiet voice of wisdom that has been waiting for us all along. Yet, so many people avoid stillness. They fear what they will find in the silence. They fill their days with distractions, with noise, with constant movement, because to be still would mean to face themselves. But growth does not come from avoidance, it comes from awareness. There is nothing to fear in solitude, only the opportunity to see yourself with honesty and to embrace the truths that surface. Stillness allows for healing in ways that busyness never can. When we are constantly rushing, constantly reacting, we do not give ourselves the time to process, to release, to restore. But healing requires presence. It requires a willingness to sit with what is, to acknowledge pain without running from it, and to give ourselves the grace to heal at our own pace. The world tells us to move on quickly, to suppress our emotions, to distract ourselves from discomfort, but wisdom teaches us that healing is a journey, one that cannot be rushed. In solitude, we find the space to grieve, to reflect, to forgive, and ultimately to step forward renewed. Beyond healing, stillness also brings revelation. When we retreat into quiet moments, we gain insight that is impossible to find in the midst of constant noise. How often do we seek answers, searching for direction, asking for clarity, yet never taking the time to listen? The answers we seek are often already within us, but they can only be heard when we quiet everything else. There is a reason why the most transformative moments in history were birthed in solitude. Because wisdom speaks to those who are willing to be still enough to hear it. There is also strength in solitude. Society often equates being alone with being weak, but in truth, solitude is where the strongest people are refined. It takes courage to step away from the crowd, to stand firm in one's beliefs, to take time to grow without external validation. Those who embrace solitude learn self-sufficiency, resilience, and confidence in their own path. They do not seek approval from the world because they have already found their worth within. Stepping into stillness requires intention. It is easy to fill our days with tasks, to say we do not have time to pause, to claim that solitude is a luxury we cannot afford. But the truth is, we cannot afford to neglect it. Just as our bodies require rest, so too does our spirit. Carving out time for stillness is not selfish. It is necessary, whether it is through moments of quiet reflection, through nature, through meditation, or simply through intentional disconnection from distractions. The practice of stillness must become a priority. As we move forward, the invitation is clear. Embrace solitude. Do not fear the quiet moments. Cherish them. In stillness there is healing. In solitude there is strength. And in the space of silence there is wisdom waiting to be heard. The body, mind, and soul are sacred gifts. Yet so often they are neglected in the pursuit of external achievements, relationships, and responsibilities. There is a divine calling to care for oneself, not out of vanity or selfishness, but as an act of reverence. When we nurture ourselves, we honor the vessel that carries us through this life. The way we treat our bodies, the thoughts we allow to shape our minds, and the emotions we choose to hold on to, all play a significant role in our spiritual and personal growth. Many believe that self-care is optional or secondary, something to be considered only when there is extra time. But this is a false narrative. The truth is, we cannot pour into others from an empty cup. We cannot fulfill our divine purpose if we are constantly depleted, running on exhaustion and neglecting our own well-being. To care for oneself is not to disregard others, it is to ensure that we have the strength, clarity, and energy to show up fully in the roles we have been given. Caring for the body is an act of gratitude. We often forget that our physical health is deeply connected to our spiritual and emotional well-being. When we nourish ourselves with healthy food, when we move our bodies with intention, when we allow ourselves proper rest, we are not only maintaining physical health, we are strengthening our connection to a higher purpose. It is difficult to think clearly, to make wise choices, or to walk in purpose when we are physically drained. Yet so many ignore their bodies, pushing past exhaustion, fueling themselves with stress rather than sustenance, and wondering why they feel disconnected and overwhelmed. Divine wisdom reminds us that we were given these bodies to care for them, not to neglect them. Beyond the body, the mind is a space that must also be nurtured. What we consume mentally through conversations, media, and even our own thoughts shapes the way we see ourselves and the world around us. If we constantly allow negativity, doubt, and fear to take root, we will find ourselves living in a cycle of anxiety and hesitation. But when we guard our minds, choosing to fill them with wisdom, truth, and positivity, we create an internal environment that fosters peace and growth. This is why it is so important to be mindful of the voices we listen to, the content we absorb, and the self-talk we engage in. We must ask ourselves, are we feeding our minds with thoughts that empower us, or are we allowing fear and doubt to take over? The soul, too, requires care. It is easy to overlook the state of our inner being when we are focused on the demands of daily life. But the soul speaks in quiet ways. It lets us know when it is weary, when it longs for connection, when it is in need of renewal. Often this manifests as feelings of emptiness, burnout, or a deep sense of dissatisfaction despite external success. When this happens, it is a sign that we must return to practices that nourish the soul, whether through prayer, reflection, time in nature, creative expression, or moments of stillness. Tending to the soul is essential. A neglected soul leads to a disconnected life, one where purpose feels distant and fulfillment remains just out of reach. Self-care is not indulgence. It is stewardship. It is recognizing that we have been entrusted with one life, one body, one mind, and one soul, and we have a responsibility to care for them well. It is about setting boundaries that protect our peace, choosing relationships that uplift rather than drain, and making daily choices that align with the life we are called to live. When we nurture ourselves, we do not diminish our ability to give. We strengthen it. The invitation is clear. Honor yourself. Care for your body as the sacred vessel it is. Protect your mind from thoughts and influences that do not serve your highest good. Feed your soul with the wisdom and peace it needs to thrive. This is not selfishness. This is alignment. And when you are aligned, you are able to walk in purpose, serve with joy, and live a life that reflects the fullness of who you were created to be. As we step into 2025, the message is clear. Focus on yourself, not as an act of selfishness, but as an act of alignment with the path that has been set before you. This is the year to embrace growth, to seek clarity, to find strength in stillness, and to nurture the body, mind, and soul with intention. The distractions of the world will always be there, but so will the wisdom that calls you inward. The question is, will you listen? You are not meant to live in exhaustion, in confusion, in constant pursuit of external validation. You are meant to rise, to walk in purpose, and to embrace the fullness of who you are. Every step you take toward self-growth is a step toward divine alignment. Every distraction you release brings you closer to clarity. Every moment of stillness allows you to hear what has been waiting for you all along. And every act of self-care is an act of honoring the vessel you have been given. This year, let your focus be unwavering. Let your heart be at peace. Let your soul be nurtured. And above all, trust that by choosing yourself, by stepping into the path designed for you, you will find everything you've been searching for. The time is now. Focus on yourself and watch as everything else falls into place.